they're not talking to the vast majority of people in the districts. That's the reality. We're fortunate here. I mean, we have a competitive district always, and that's good. Because I think the solutions are in the middle. I always have, and I have this sort of 70% solution attitude towards legislation, where if you can get 70% of what you want, or what you think is appropriate, that's sort of a victory. Because in the House there are 435 people. There's no earthly way that you can get 400, very rarely get 435 people to agree on anything. So I think the real crisis in America is not, there are lots of issues come and go. There's always going to be another issue. How do you make healthcare more affordable? How do you make college loans more affordable? Those issues are never going to go away. What's missing is, because I spent so many years in the legislature, 16 years, is this whole concept of how do we govern? And for me, when and if, well, someday I'll leave the House. What is, my goal would be make the governance more solution-based. That would be when we pass something that I think is in the middle, like the highway bill, or something that is going to put people to work, for example. You walk out of the chamber, you go, I just passed something that's actually going to put people to work. And I think that's the real crisis in America today. So that's my speech.
So basically, you're looking at 12-year term limitation.
That's what I support.
Yeah.
I do have a question. In regards to the Trans-Pacific Partnership, which there's been massive public outcry in this country and all over the world. It is a 800-page text.
What's more?
That was completely written in secret and not publicly disclosed until recently, which allows multinational corporations to circumvent the Constitution by international mandate. As one of the 28 Democrats, your swing vote voted in favor to allow this to pass the House.
Well, to allow them to negotiate agreement.
My question is, this is a very unpopular issue. It's basically handing the keys over to the multinational to allow them to do certain things in international court that would bypass the Constitution. As an elected official who took an oath to the Constitution.
Just go ahead. Give me the question.
My question is why?
Okay. I thought that's where you were going. So I did support the Trans-Pacific Partnership Authority giving to our negotiators. You can't negotiate any treaty or agreement in public. I mean, that's never been done, never will be done. I mean, you're negotiating with 11 countries. The Trans-Pacific Partnership is 11 countries in Asia, including the United States, Indonesia, Australia, or not Indonesia, Japan, Malaysia, Vietnam, Singapore, Mexico, Canada, Australia, New Zealand. Anyway, what it does a myriad of things. It is long, it's lots of pages, 1,200 or so pages. What it does is, and the reason it's so long is because it covers a lot of territory. It covers environmental issues, it covers labor issues, it covers sex trafficking, for example, in Malaysia. It covers labor rights in Mexico. It covers a whole myriad of things. It's the first multinational trade agreement that addresses these various issues. So in that respect, it is substantial improvement over any trade agreement we have ever done. A significant improvement over NAFTA, where those types of issues, were only covered in side agreements. It creates a mechanism for dispute resolution. Back after World War II, we all know that, well, I actually was born after World War II, 4 years after World War II. But since World War II, we have basically put our tariffs down to zero. And we've done it for lots of reasons. One is because we wanted to encourage trade. We also, we wanted our consumers to have the benefit of low-cost goods. So our tariffs for Chinese goods, for example, have always been zero, always. Whereas when we trade with other countries, it's not the case. Not only Japan has a 37% tariff on our beef, for example. We're the third, in Nebraska, we're the third largest exporter of beef products in the United States. We pay at 37%. Every time we send a steak to Tokyo, we add 37% to the price. So what the Trans-Pacific Partnership, and there's an agreement also being negotiated in Europe called TTIP, is designed to try to equalize the tariffs and to try to encourage more trade. And by encouraging more trade, address some of the social issues, environmental issues, labor issues in these various countries. So Vietnam has 80 million people. They want to be like us. Politically, they aren't like us. They're a communist government, but they're very entrepreneurial. And they want to trade with the United States. So being able to do that and encourage that, we have to take a hard look at what TPP says. There are also going to be other pieces of legislation that accompany TPP that talk about dislocation of workers, training, workforce training, kinds of projects and programs that can be developed. So, look, I think our GDP is now going to increase around less than or up to 2%. We need to get our GDP to 4%. Our GDP, coffee was probably from some other grind it up. But anyway, we want to get our GDP up to 4% so that we can get higher paying jobs and more people working more than 30 hours a week. And I think trade is a big component, especially in Nebraska. So that's my answer to that. Yeah.
The kind of economics that you want to do the federal government was more like trickle down economics, where I think we should do like what I labeled myself teeter-totter economics, where you're addressing the gap between the 90% and the 1%, and if you're not making legislative economic decisions to build that middle class, I mean, you're just cutting off your nose to spite your face.
But I think you get at the middle. I think where the middle class, first of all, jobs are changing.
Yeah.
We're getting into, the world I knew. I'm 66. The world that I grew up in was not the world that is today. I have a son who's an engineering student at Iowa State. The world is changing. Jobs are changing.
But isn't that because of NAFTA?
No, I think the world's changing because we've become technology's changing. The kinds of jobs people do, the kind of training people have to work in today's economy are not the same as they were 40 years ago. I don't think it's NAFTA so much. I think it's the internet. And I think it's being able to...
As soon as NAFTA happened, though, all the manufacturing jobs went over.
Not all.
I've been in manufacturing industry my whole life.
I've seen, well, in Omaha, where we've been to manufacturing, we're trying to go to the 50 largest businesses in Omaha. And we've been to, I don't know how many we've been to.
And we've been to at least 25 of the top 50.
And there are a lot of manufacturing jobs here, and they are cool, and they are we're manufacturing agricultural implements. We're in tech. We were out at a data center for Fidelity the other day, the most incredible data center that I've ever been in. It's out in rural Sarpy County. There's Valmont. There's all sorts of manufacturing going on here. And a lot of it, but if you look at what they're building and where they're sending their products overseas. They're manufacturing things here and they're sending those things somewhere else. And the wages that are being paid are, I realized that when I was growing up, the Western Electric plant was in Millard. I get that. I grew up in it. I knew Millard's growth was contingent upon Western Electric. Everybody knows that lived here. But making telephones isn't what we're doing today. So I think we have to educate people, young people, to be able to do the high-tech jobs. And as they evolve into whether it's in grade school or high school or college or wherever it is, or at Metro Community College, we need to, those jobs are going to be high-tech jobs, they're going to be global, and I want to be on the forefront of that. So, hey, how are
Hey,
you?
good to see you. So I had a
You've
question.
got a lot of my stuff on that phone, don't you?
Well, yeah. But I mean, so I had a question as to why you would support Senator, or I guess Secretary Clinton over Senator Sanders.
Oh, why? You got to pick somebody.
No, that's true. But I mean, is there any
You
particular
got me
reason?
in trouble last time when you asked me that question. To be honest, I think Hillary has incredible experience. I've been to the Middle East 3 times. Knowing the leaders in the Middle East, I've been able to meet those countries that have kings. I've met the kings. I've met the prime ministers. I've met all of our commanders in CENTCOM throughout the Middle East, and I've had 3 trips over there now. And the fact that she knows those people, she can pick up the phone and talk to them, is incredible. I mean, that's a learning curve that we need that experience. So that's why I support Hillary. I like John Kasich, and I think he's a very accomplished guy. I mean, he's 20 years in the House. He was chairman of the Appropriations Committee. Look, I know politicians. People like to talk about politicians as being what they are and aren't and so forth. But what I look at is who can bring people to the middle. That's where the solutions are. Who has the experience in these tough issues? Kasich is governor of Ohio. I think he's an accomplished guy. I've endorsed Hillary because of her experience. Bernie, I know Bernie. He's a great guy. I mean, he lives. He says what he believes. But pick them. There are a lot of candidates out there.
Why is there such a disconnect between the public and politicians?
I think it's because of
Why is there
because of the districts. Because you have congressional districts that are either they're gerrymandered and they're gerrymandered to the left. There are districts in the House that are 90% Democrat.
But who gets the information to them that way?
Well, they're gerrymandered. They're gerrymandered by legislatures across the country. So what you have is an all-Democrat district or an all-Republican district. In the South, for example, what used to be pretty much Democrat is now Republican because those districts have been gerrymandered to support Republican candidates. That's bad. Because the solution, I will go to my grave. The solutions, I've done this a long time, the solutions to our problems are in the center. It's bringing people to the center, taking the opinions from the right and the left, putting it on a yellow pad, writing down the options, and coming to a conclusion. And I don't think we're going to ever get there in this country till we get the districts more equal.